Hi, welcome to this episode of the Soul Legacy TV podcast and radio show, The Soul Legacy Movement, with me, Iona Meade, founder of the Soul Legacy Academy.com. Of the Soul Legacy TV. Sorry, guys. Just checking that we're working on YouTube, and we are. So I am your host for this telechat series called the Cheers to Financial Freedom Frequency for soul-guided entrepreneurs. So if you are a soul-guided entrepreneur, you are in the right place. So I have two amazing guests here with me who I will introduce in just a second. So I am featuring legendary light leaders joining me from all over the world, literally. They'll tell you where they're tuning in from. It's just been amazing. So they're blazing the trail and illuminating the pathway for you. So we'll be sharing not only what I call soul path alignment shifts and gifts, but also real and raw stories from our dark night into the light of the soul. And they're very, very special stories today, really raw and real. They're known for it. So as our journeys have unfolded, we've kind of bust through a lot of the myths, broken through some barriers, and those are the stories that we want to be telling you today. So we won't hold back. If you want to continue on this conversation, we would love that. Do ask any questions, do leave any comments, anything that you resonate with, anything that we do mention, any of the links and the gifts will be in the show notes and the description around this episode. So hashtag conversations with Iona. So guys, welcome. Hi, Isis. Hi, Jay. How are you?
Hi.
Let us know where you're tuning in from in the world, and then I'll give you an introduction. So Isis, where are you?
I am in Maui, Hawaii, and even though it is already fall,
yes,
it's still hot.
Oh, come on.
I still get to swim at the beach year round. It's pretty amazing, and I really love my life here.
Oh, wow. Like, okay, so we had Canada and we had Thailand, and I have the white wall in the UK. Jay, where are you tuning in from?
Hi, good evening. I am, in fact, Jay Rothman, and I am tuning in from Scottsdale, Arizona.
Woo-hoo! And you love the outdoors as well, right? So let me give you guys a warm introduction. So Jay is known as the mind-body architect, right? So he provides a roadmap for you to no longer just be surviving, but to empower you and thrive through mind, body, and soul. And so he inspires individuals and corporations that the key to a healthy life actually begins with and ends with creating balance from within. I love that. It's so in alignment. And having the courage to step into fear with massive action that provides a new way to experience life and freedom from within. So thank you so much, Jay. I really appreciate that. Before we go on and I introduce Isis and she'll share her story, can you tell us how your story has unfolded, how you knew that actually this was the roadmap that I need to design for myself and for others?
Hi, well, first I'd like to thank you for reaching out and inviting me on your show today. I am humbled and honored to be, I believe, as you have shared, perhaps the first male guest.
Yes.
So, it's always nice to be the first. Sometimes it's nice not to be the first, because then you could learn from those that have come before you. Yeah. But I've been on this learning journey, this learning and healing and self-discovery for honestly, just right now, coming up just on 4 years. It was around October 8th or 9th, 4 years ago, that I was put in a hospital. I signed myself in, and that's where I began my healing journey. My spiritual awakening began in that moment when I woke up at a hospital and understood that I was out of answers and I was out of time. And that meant for me was that if I didn't have the courage to make some massive life changes, I would not be alive in less than a year from that day forward. I was diagnosed with 9 different major medical diagnoses, and any one of them could have taken me out in any moment. But I knew that if I went home after they repaired me, did what doctors do best, which is they treat They treat immediate emergencies very well. And they did what they had to do to put my legs back on and put my heart right back up. And but I knew in that moment that if I didn't have the courage to change, that I would make it. And so there began my healing journey. And that's coming off of, keep in mind, I was 54 years old at the time. I'd had a very successful career in sales, marketing, and senior management of a major corporation in the United States. And, I had what some refer to as an American male, modern male dream. I had the beautiful wife. I had 3 beautiful sons. And I had the career that I was able to create at that time, 34 years of success measured by how much money I earned. And it was in the millions over the lifetime. But what happened was that life had caught up with me. And that was basically because inside I was very, very, very lonely. And I had a lot of, let's just refer to as wounds and sadness and a lot of the negative, toxic emotions that were just, as they refer to as the black hole of the soul. And no matter what I tried to reach for to fill it with external things, whether it was bigger homes, more expensive cars, fancy dinners out, high-end clothing, furniture and accessories to make that house look just so perfect. With all that going on and with the family going on, by the time I woke up, I had created 5 of my own addictive behaviors. And each one of them was destructive to myself and to my loved ones. And so I realized that the American dream, as I had been chasing my entire career, was actually part of what was going to take me down. And I had to decide what the rest of my life was going to look like if I was going to make it. So began my healing journey.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. That is amazing journey. And I know, Isis, you were nodding your head and stuff like, oh gosh. And so in doing what I'm doing with the Soul Legacy, and so, if it was your time, then it would be like, what legacy would you leave? What impact would you leave on your sons and, your family and your wife? It's like, this is not my time. I need to make a different choice. And we'll talk about that deeper. And so the courage to change. So Isis talks about change, and I'll introduce you in just a second. I love that the theme of this is 1, the decision, but 2, on the outside, it looks amazing. And I resonate with that. My life looked like I got married on Cocoa Beach. The year before, I'd bought my house. We had soft tops. And inside it felt like a lonely, empty mess. So I really do resonate with that. And guys, if you resonate with that, it is time to say, this is me, this is where I'm at, and own it. Because it's when you own it and you make a decision, then the change comes. So Isis, I want to give you a really warm introduction as well. So Isis, an Argetta. So your name, when we first met, I'm like, how do you say it? Tell me how to say it again. So hopefully I didn't butcher it this time.
And you nailed it. You nailed it.
You see that? Right? So Isis is a Reiki master and teacher and energy mentor. Big energy, love it. So, and an expert in magic and miracles, aka Reiki healing. So she's raw and real and down to earth, really down to earth, while gently offering you the freedom and ease in your mind, your body, and your soul. Can you see a theme here? So her work with money and Reiki has been transforming lives of spiritual entrepreneurs across the world through the money goddess magic mind, not mastermind, magic mind, right? And healthy and rich as AF, as fuck. So movement, because it is needed, right? So thank you so much for joining me. I've been talking about you because we have the backstory to the telechat series. And Jay, I don't know if you'll know about that, but if our connection hadn't been, I wouldn't be doing this right now. So Isis, tell us how your journey has unfolded. I know it's raw and real. Would love to hear that.
Well, we don't have time to go through all of the details because there's so much. But I will try to give you the shortest little nutshell possible. My spiritual journey began the minute I was born. I was raised very religious, but it was a very constricted sense of spirituality to what resonated with my soul. And when I was 24, I had an awakening. I was working in an emergency room. My career was headed down the medical path. And I was doing what Jay was talking about, doctors do well, putting bodies back together in emergent situations. And obviously, a healer is a healer is a healer. You're going to find a way to do the healing work in some way. But it wasn't enough. I could feel that, as you called it, hole in the soul, or that darkness that was kind of just under the surface. And I worked night shift, so I worked in the dark. I worked with that darkness for many years, and I went through a long process of discovering bit by bit about energy. I quit the medical field because it was too constricted, just like the religious life. And I kept seeking more and more expansion, because that is what we need in order to hold space for us to encounter those deep and heavy feelings that some of us have. You know, I think everyone, regardless of how good, how bright, how light your life is, we all have something within us that's searching for more. And that's natural. That's how we encounter ourselves. That's how we encounter spirit. And it just motivates and drives you. So it kept motivating and driving me. I quit the medical field. I went into massage. I learned about energy healing, and hypnotherapy and EFT. And I got this whole collection of tools to help me deal with this dark night that I was going through. Because I'll be quite honest with you, raw and real here, when I left the religious community that I grew up in, I was suicidal. I was suicidal for years. And I tried several times to commit suicide. And every time the universe kind of picked me up and set me back on my butt and said, nope, not going to happen. You haven't left your legacy yet. You haven't done what you came here to do.
Stop it.
Yes.
Keep going.
Exactly. And my turning point came when I realized how much energy I was wasting by fighting my legacy, by fighting my calling. And I made a choice. And I said, okay, I'm here. I'm going to do this. And the world opened up. It hasn't been easy. I've had to look very, very closely right in the face of all my fears. And that's why people resist change. That's why people resist growth. I get it. I resist like nobody else. I am stubborn AF.
Yes.
And I don't want to do what I don't want to do.
Yeah.
But what I had to learn is that on the other side of facing and owning where you are and what you feel is freedom.
Oh, thank you.
And it doesn't matter if you're talking about emotions or money or whatever it is that scares the shit out of you. There is light on the other side of facing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm living proof. I took my life from suicidal, hate my life. I was literally living on coffee and vending machine food, and and smoking cigarettes like all the time. I was just living an unhealthy life, drinking too much. And I've turned that into this beautiful life in Maui where I'm in tune with my body. I'm healthier and look younger at 37 than I did at 24 when I started this journey. It's amazing how much you can change just by making those decisions consistently.
Oh my gosh.
So,
I'm going to try and unpack it a little bit, right? And Jay, you can jump in. So the beauty of this space is that when my guests have come in, the journey that they've been on has been so similar that they resonate. And I'm just like, almost like I don't have to say anything. So I love that you share so openly and so raw and so real. And there's been times, Dark Night of the Soul is just that. Like Jay said, it's dark, it's deep, it's within. Nobody can come and save you. Like, you might lock yourself off. And if you guys have experienced that, do let us know. And if you're going through it, do let us know. And it is part of that evolution and part of that growth. It doesn't feel like it feels wrong. It feels uncomfortable. It feels like, get me out of here. I can't take anymore. And I was thinking about that today, actually, thinking how far I've come and my emotions, like you're talking about, and we'll talk on the Cheers to Financial Freedom frequency. When you're in that frequency, you kind of don't see a way out. I love that you had the courage to change, and that's what Jay says as well. And there's fear and change and making a decision. So there's many people that are listening that are maybe haven't left the spaces that you've left, the traditional roles just yet. And they are on that journey. And I love that you come and you say, there's light at the end of the tunnel. You can achieve that, but just know it might not be an A to B journey. It might be, do you know what I mean? And it probably won't be. I'm just saying, just keeping it raw and real. There's growth in that. There's lessons. There's inner work. And you both talk about your inner work. So Jay, you can jump in and then I'll introduce you.
Sure. You know, just to piggyback what you shared, we had a lot of commonalities. I took up smoking when I was 35. And by the time 2015 rolled around, I was just about a pack or more a day. I was 60 pounds heavier. I mean, the diagnosis is from diabetes to heart disease. My arteries my right leg was 99% blocked. My left was 90. My aorta was 29% blocked. And my right artery for my heart was at 99% blockage. So I had all this stuff going on. Of course, my cholesterol was at 400. My blood pressure was like 190 over 125. I was a flaming mess.
Yes.
And you know, when we talk about courage to change, that is one of the key steps. But before that, there was one other that was huge, was that I refer to as surrender. I had to surrender the idea that everything that I thought was true in my life may in fact have been a lie. And everything that I thought was a lie, in fact, may be the truth. And if we put a pretty bow around that statement, that really has to do with leaning into our belief systems that we were taught by our teachers and mentors growing up. And, you know, it led me down that path of a life and making so many choices for myself that really, in the end, didn't really serve me. They hurt me. However, I can say that I don't live a life of regret today, a life of resentment, because I understand that I had to go through every one of those experiences to come out on this other side. And this other side doesn't mean that, I wake up every morning and the sun is shining. Now, most days in Scottsdale, the sun is shining. That's one of the reasons I chose to relocate here from the beach in California.
Same here.
Right?
What is the white wall? Like, where is everyone at once? Okay, change.
But
right?
But the truth is that in order to get into having the courage to say, okay, I'm done. Yeah. To say I'm done, it's saying you may understand what I'm about to say here, these words, but when you're a little kid growing up in New York, like I was, we'd say uncle, like I give up, uncle, you know? And so it's the same as surrender. It's just to say, I'm out of answers, I'm out of time, and I'm willing to consider that perhaps my best thinking has earned me this position I'm in. And so I'd have to be willing to accept that. I need to be open heart, clear mind to change. And that gave me permission to for the first time in my life, I remember I was early on in my recovery, and I had the courage to finally say to somebody for the first time, I don't know.
Yes.
And that statement was such a powerful, empowering statement. And I realized, wow, I really like this, that I don't have to come up with a story based on something that I may or may not really have the answer to, but it sure sounds convincing. And whoever I share it with, they're nodding their head, yes, like, yeah, you're right. And I'm thinking to myself, I have no idea if I'm right or wrong, but it sure sounds good. And that was how I lived my whole life, you know, especially coming from a background of sales and marketing. You put spin on everything in life, but it doesn't mean that it's the truth. It just means that that was your own perspective or your own reality. And today I could actually say either I don't know, or sometimes after I catch myself answering someone's question and realize that I just went off and shared what I think may be the truth, I can say, however, it's just my story. I tell on myself, I can say, it's just my story. And that gives me permission to just like, let it go. It's like, I don't have to be right. I don't have to be intelligent. I don't have to be anything today other than just be who I am, which is just show up.
Thank you. I love that. I love that.
That's amazing.
And Isis tells on herself all the time. So as we talk about in the gifts, we're always doing it. And so I love that you say we don't have to know everything and have everything figured out. And I don't know if you guys know, or if you guys are watching, if you know that today when we were going to go live at 3 p.m., that show had to slide like 3 hours. I don't know if you know that. Do you know that?
I was aware you had to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
So I know that some people would make a different decision, like just go, it's got to be. And I'm like, do you know what? I know the vision for that. And I know that things happen and they flow, and I honor and I give grace and love. So instead of having a fear inside of me that bubbled up, like, oh gosh, what do I do? I just made a decision. And we had the most epic and beautiful conversation.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So powerful. And I know, Isis, you're the same with when we had this space, because I've been saying I'll tell it. We met in a group and we were talking about summits and let's build it in the traditional way of going about and building your business, not being in alignment and making a decision. Actually, I want to see something different. But we didn't know what it was going to be like. So we were going to co-create and co-host what popped up as the Telechat series. And I'll tell you now, I had the majority of the guests that are in here now lined up, not everyone, but just about a large percentage have all changed their gifts and the direction a little bit or a lot from what we were first going to do. And I had to literally, the Soul Speakers Academy had to die for the Soul Legacy Academy to be born. The Soul Income Injection Movement had to move way for the Soul Legacy movement. And so we don't always know. And I'm like, do you know what? I'm gonna follow the breadcrumbs, but it might be this way or it might be that way. And I had to be brave. I had to have that courage to say, I've changed. And some people were not happy about it. They were like, well, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. I do not know. And it's public and it's open, but I'm just open to being me and make a decision based on my values and what's in alignment with me. And just you guys coming in divine time. I believe in divine time. Do you guys believe in divine time?
Absolutely. I think that's what this whole surrender part that, Jay was just talking about is really about. It is surrender to the divine timing. Surrender to the wisdom that is not of your human mind. It may be, whether you call it your intuition, your higher mind, the wisest part of you that you didn't know was there, whatever you want to call it, however spiritual you want to get with it, there is wisdom that is beyond what we can access from our random access memory in our brains. And we have to surrender to that, which means giving up on the ways that we thought that it would be and the ways that we wanted it to be and all the details that we make it up to be. And that takes real courage. You were talking, Jay, about how you got to such a pivotal moment of like, either change or you die, and I was to the point of death as well. I wanted to die because I wanted change so much, and I could not see any other way to change my life. And for me, the decision was, I want to change and I don't want it to be through death. Now, my whole journey has been about seeing you don't have to get to the point of like drastic death or dismemberment or, you know, the kind of end of the world scenarios to make that change. We can make those decisions on a day-to-day basis, like you're doing, Iona, with the evolving of this telechat series and what you're doing with your legacy and your movement. If you are courageous enough to make those decisions that may be uncomfortable or make people a little bit upset or confuse people on a regular basis, you don't get to that point where everything's falling apart. Yeah. But you got to practice it, because I don't know about you guys, but my world did not teach me how to do this. My world didn't teach me how to surrender to the divine flow. My world taught me that I have to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work, because I'm just the human part of the equation. There's another part of me that is a little bit bigger and a little bit wiser, and I want to expand into that.
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Amen to that. So, which brings us nicely to our gifts. So, Jay, I'll go with yours first. And I love that you both are in the happiness and healing, and I love that. I've been seeing common themes, and I hopefully people will pick those up. But it's that inner work and those inner tools, and it might not just be just that one thing. It's a collection, a myriad of things that we put together that fit for us to raise our own vibration. So Jay and I was having a conversation, as when I was alluding to the only guy on the series so far. You're setting the stage, you're blazing the trail here. So they're going to be following you, Jay. So I know that you have your series and you're very used to hosting. I don't know if you're used to being on this side, like being interviewed. So you have a series which I love, and I've taken some notes on, and we'll dive deep on it. And Isis, you can feel free to jump in. But like you, Jay loves the outdoors, and that part of your healing journey was the outdoors, was nature, right? So Jay shares the Hike and Heal live series. So you are regularly out in nature, so you just whip out your phone and actually walk you through the experience. And part of the Cheers to Financial Freedom frequency, for those of you who don't know, is contribution freedom, health freedom, emotional freedom, environmental freedom, which you guys have, relationship freedom, spiritual freedom, and financial freedom. So you have that environmental freedom to work with your clients out in nature and just share, because that's where you feel most connected. So share with us, when the links will be down below, guys, or around this episode for you to grab this. You were going to share one video for us, so that's specifically for you guys that Jay's speaking, but we actually expanded it into a whole playlist, because this is what you do naturally. So share with us what they'll find when they go and check out your series, Jay.
Thank you, Iona. As you described it so eloquently, I had found that through my own healing journey, this time around, I didn't want to go back to the gym like I had done when I was 48. And I had my first medical signpost pop in my life. It was a heart attack. Mm-hmm. And after that, I thought, again, belief system, that how you get well is you go to the gym, you do a massive cardio, you come out after an hour, and then you eat healthier, you change your eating habits, and you quit smoking. And it did all that, but it wasn't, what I found was that after a couple of years, I went back to old behaviors, life got difficult again, and I threw away all my good behavior, and I went back to all my old comfort, unhealthy comfort choices, which went back to eating unhealthy, back to smoking, quitting the gym. And so fast forward this time, when I hit the second bottom, which was way lower, I made the conscious decision not to go back to the gym, but I wanted to see, because I never really had any appreciation or connection to nature in my life, other than when I was maybe a teenager and I got introduced to boating in New York as a teenager, late teenager. But other than that, but I was never alone. Even when I was on a boat, I was always with other people. It wasn't my time to connect with myself and my higher self, and so the divine. And so this time around, I was just drawn to the outdoors. And when I chose to leave the hospital and not go back home and step out of a 30-year marriage, I chose to move to in a community called Huntington Beach, which is, I was not on the ocean, but I was, let's say, less than 5 miles. And every morning I'd drive out there and I'd go for a walk. And I did that for just about a year. Just walking allowed me to lose weight, started to get my health in order. And through that process, I really fell in love with being outdoors and experiencing the negative ions that come off the ocean, the grounding that takes place when you take your shoes off. And I started to show up consistently every day, 365 in the same location. Eventually, I got myself a beach cruiser and I started to ride 20, 25 miles every day, combining with the walking. But I found that I enjoyed how I was feeling. I started to notice a difference, not just physically. The physical part was a small piece of it. Yeah. It was one of what I refer to as the 4 pillars. The 4 pillars is the emotional, the mental, the physical, and the spiritual. And if we only focus on one area, we're not going to have balance in life. We're not going to have balance within ourselves. Yeah. And I realized that every time I showed up and did my work, my spiritual practice, which included meditation, prayer, song, music, writing, I started to blog out there. I started to just be open to receive what the universe had to offer besides witnessing and seeing dolphins and sometimes a whale and sometimes a seal and meeting beautiful people like myself that were on their own healing journey of sorts. And I call the warriors. I'd see them every morning doing their thing. And so began my idea to really expand it and open up what I was doing to the public in a very public way. And so I decided to start sharing it through blogging on Facebook. And eventually I had the courage to hit go live. And I started to go live from the pier or from the shoreline just prior to me relocating to Arizona. And once I moved here, I was on a hike for myself one morning because I basically swapped out the beach for the mountains. And I made the commitment to myself that I was going to take a hike every morning. And one day early on, I was like, how am I going to do my coaching out here? Because towards the end, I gave up my office where I was sharing office space with an LMFT. And I was actually coaching along the shoreline. And there was such powerful breakthroughs that was taking place in nature. And so I decided, what can I do out here in Arizona? And it just came to me. It came to me not from my thinking, but from, again, that inside space, that higher space, that intuition. Wisdom came and said, why not create a hike and heal where you can coach people along the trail, the pathway, whether it be a hike or a nature walk. I offer both. And I was like, well, how am I going to do that? What is that? How am I going to find these clients, these people? Yeah. And then again, intuition came to me and I was like, there's something called Airbnb experiences. Mm-hmm. And I knew that because I had done some experiences in Los Angeles. Yeah. None of them were hiking, but I went home and I raced to the computer and I just put together some ideas and I sent it off to Airbnb. And the first time I was rejected, they said, not interested. No, it's not a good fit for us. I was like, no way. You're not, whoever's looking at this doesn't understand what I'm offering, because I knew, not from the ego space, not from this space here, but from my heart space, that it felt right. Yeah. And so I didn't just accept no. I said, no, you just don't understand. And I went back and I just made some tweaks and changes in the verbiage. I resubmitted and I got accepted. And I got accepted for number 2 and another third one. And I ended up with 5 Airbnb experiences. And then guests started booking me. And so I knew that I was on the right path. And so today, what happened is that I began to also share my own personal journey after I do a hike and heal coaching session, or after I've done my own self-care spiritual practice. I go live sometimes, maybe once or twice a week, and I share on a topic that is resonating with me in that moment based on an experience that I may have gone through. And so this gift right now has got 27 prior live hike and heal moments where I went live and I shared from my heart space. Sometimes there were tears, sometimes there were laughs, but it was always about connecting with myself to you in the community hearing something that maybe just today would give you encouragement, give you inspiration, give you hope that no matter what you are going through, that having courage and surrendering through those two steps, you can begin to take massive action to improving that area of life that is causing you pain or causing you suffering, or has you living in that state of just surviving.
I love it. So from surviving to thriving, I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Jay. And so for me, I always believe that, you know, when you go on Facebook or you go on YouTube or you go on whatever, the perfect thing pops up for me. And I don't mean like bots and like, you know, when adverts are coming up or people saying they're listening to us, look where, I don't mean that. I mean the perfect message, the perfect gentle words, or the thing that makes you cry, or the thing that makes you laugh is on that deep soul, like to your toes or in the pit of your belly. And whether you're with somebody or not and you're sharing that journey or that moment, you just know that is what I needed. And so I believe that because you were sharing in those moments, anyone that's feeling those moments or like putting together, I love actually, Jay and Isis, you might have experienced something similar where you do something that seems kind of unrelated, and then later down the line, you're like, okay, that was what that was for. And so it's not that everything, how we're saying, you know, your soul path, you literally walk people down their soul path, you walk down the path with them physically, but it's not that soul path alignment comes with the signpost, like, you know, Iona, go this way, turn left now. Okay, you don't have to go down that road. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, there's so much growth. And when we miss a street and we whatever, usually the same experience will come up until we get it, until we embody it, until we live it, until we move through it. And not every experience we have to live through, and some things that we can let go of, but definitely avoiding the path is not the way to get to live in the path, right? To live in, and it's not, and it is the journey, right? They say that, but it's just loving that moment. And I just love your journey, Jay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Isis, do you want to jump in there and then I'll introduce your gift? Anything that Jay said is amazing.
I very much enjoyed listening to it. I'm excited to check out what you've got to offer, because obviously I love hiking. I live in one of the most beautiful places in the world to hike. And I do a lot of hiking. In fact, the beginning of the Money Goddess Magic Mind started on a hike. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute.
Yes.
So, you know, there's so much synchronicity. Like you talked about the things that you're just like, oh, there's the signs, and it's not just a bot. No, this is not just, you know, some technological, psychological advertising strategy. This is the universe aligning the things that are in the right vibration. You know, we are both talking about change. I didn't know that I was going to do this sneak peek on change. I looked at all the ones that I have. I'm like, well, which one should I offer as a sneak peek? And the only one that felt right was the change one. So, you know, that is how the universe works. It's very organized, and it will always redirect you back to the path if you miss a spot, if you miss a turn. And you'll get a whole new perspective, and you'll go on as many detours as you need to get to your destination. For me, there's been a lot of detours, but I kind of set out on my life to have a lot of detours because I knew that I wanted to have a fantastic story. I knew that at the end of my life, whenever that comes, I wanted to be able to tell this story of all these magical points and things that happen in the synchronicities. And you have to have a lot of different experiences in order to have that kind of life. Yes. So that's where the courage to allow those changes, to surrender, to follow the intuition and the guidance, even when it's weird or it doesn't make sense. Probably especially then.
Yes, I agree. So let me introduce your free gift, which I love. And I
thank you.
I didn't know that this was born through the hiking, but I forgot because like you post the pictures of hiking and stuff. It's like,
yeah.
Wow. So Isa's gift is in that we will be in the chats, and it will be around. If you're on the Soul Legacy TV, you'll see that in the description. If you're in the group, then we can continue on the conversation, because I'm loving this conversation. So Isis gift is the money Reiki reset. So wherever vibration you are at, and I've gone through it, then be prepared to up level and let go. So releasing resistance to change. And so because we have the cheers to financial freedom frequency, that is contribution freedom and financial freedom on either end, but it's everything else in between. So this is going to make sense. So your financial sense of well-being relies on your comfort with change, right? So whatever goals or whatever you want in your life, however you want that to look like, it's going to involve change. You're not going to stay in the same position that you are. So this is going to be great. So change is the only constant in life, even if you are reluctant to change. I am sorry, but Isis is delivering the message. And achieving your goals will require your mindset and your emotions and your sensory perceptions of who you are and how it feels to be you to shift. And she says change is difficult for you. If it is difficult, and it is for all of us, and it brings a sense of anxiety, or especially when it comes to money and resources, then this session is for you. So you describe it beautifully, but I went through it and I've got some notes that I want to share. So where do you want to go with this? So it's a video, right?
Yeah.
What are they going to get when they go there? What are they going to experience? Because you chose this one that called to you.
Yeah. Well, it did. It called to me. It said, this is the one that wanted to be shared. It obviously fits in with our topics today. And I think that it speaks to a greater collective anxiety or frustration currently with the massive changes that are happening in many people's lives. I think that the frequency of the planet is rising to the point where we're all kind of getting that nudge from the universe. Hey, you got to have your decision point. You got to start making some change in whatever part of your life you have been resisting the change to. You know, most people are great with certain aspects of their life, you know, and then there's like this one thing or maybe a couple of things that just are not in balance, and those imbalances are becoming very, very intense. So the reason I chose this was because when you can flow with that sense of change, you stop having these ups and downs, and things can smooth out a little bit. And the place that I've noticed a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs, especially female spiritual entrepreneurs, have those ups and downs and feel the gap where I don't know if I'm being guided. I don't know how things are working out, you know, and that freak out and anxiety tends to come around money, which is our root chakra sense of safety and security, and knowing that we are here for a purpose and for a mission, and that we're supported in that. And I think that it's time for a massive healing about those energies on this planet. So I was really excited to choose this session. This is a money Reiki reset. So it's a money Reiki healing session to reset your DNA, your cellular vibration, the levels of your mind. There's some hypnotic magic in there as well. And to clear your energy field of whatever resistances have risen to the surface to be cleared right now. You guys can all clear your own energy. You can all work through your things on your own. I have no doubt about that at all, because you're powerful beings. But if we can speed it up a little bit, why the hell not?
Yes. Yes. Yes to that. And so I love that you guys talk about healing and making a decision, but within making a decision, then there is a point of change, right? And so when you don't know what that change looks like, and Jay, you talk about when there's fear in it, when the fear of the unknown and the fear of the future. So you've made a decision now. Okay, what do we do with that? So you've made a decision of, you know, your career or your health or relocating. We're all always making decisions every single day. And so when there is something that you don't know how the change is going to look and feel, and you talk about, Isis, the changes usually require the finances, right? Not every change, but a lot of changes. So guys, if you want to relocate, if I want to travel, so for me, I did this. And for me, you talk about like sitting in the energy of it and you walk us through it and what comes up and what thoughts and what plays in that and clearing that loop and that resistance. For me, freedom obviously came out, right? So it's like that freedom to choose. Now, if you guys have known my story, I went through a really messy divorce. I went through bankruptcy. I went through homelessness. It was crazy. So I wanted to change my relationship, but within that decision, chaos unfolded seemingly in my life, right? So, and that's what keeps people stuck. Like, I'm not doing that and there was a resistance. So that required money. Because I didn't have the money, they ended up in a homeless unit with my children. So when you think, you don't need the money, you do. So like, whatever, it's just a different conversation. If I want to travel, so Hawaii's been calling me, and Thailand and Canada and all those different places in the mountains. And so to do that, to have the freedom of choice is what came up for me. So because of my past, and you talk about childhood and trauma as well, Jay, because of the things that you've done that maybe haven't worked out, then those loops that come, you say about the thinking of, it's not going to work out for me, this is not going to be safe, it's not going to be, and all of these things come up, and then you just have to get quiet, get still, and receive this energy.
Because that's what the energy is for. It's to clear out those sensations in your body that are expecting the past to happen again and to repeat the same cycle. That's what keeps people stuck financially or in other ways. Look, guys, you can use this, and if your money situation is fine, this session will absolutely help you be better at navigating change in other areas of your life. It's all the same energy. It's just that the Money Goddess Magic Mind is specifically focused on the themes that show up for women entrepreneurs, especially the spiritual ones, when it comes to money, because it's such a big sticking point for people. So this is a sneak peek into that entire program, which does weekly sessions and all kinds of magic, because that consistency
makes a difference.
It makes a difference.
I love that. And I love that you talk about, intentions. And obviously the Cheers to Financial Freedom frequency is part of my intentional living codes, and deciding, which code is, where do you want to go next? Is it the financial code? Is it emotional? And they're all the same energy, like you say. So I think
I'd like to jump in, if you don't mind, for a moment.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, definitely.
I want to just chime in a couple of things that really hit me. We were talking about, you guys were sharing about how it takes courage to change and making a decision. Well, there's another piece to this, which is that when we don't make a decision, we're still making a decision.
Yes.
Because when we don't make a decision, for me, typically that means, and the clients I work with, is that we're just in obsessive thinking about it. And why we tend not to make those changes, whatever they may be, is because we're in a state of fear, which leads me to the next piece on this discussion, which is, I don't believe that in the same breath we can live in fear and live in faith. It's like we have to choose. Like in this moment, when you breathe in, are you going to breathe in fear? Or are you going to bring in faith? And coming from a guy who walked away from religion when I was just over 13 years of age, and I never looked back. It wasn't until I was in a hospital that I had my first spiritual awakening. And I've had multiple opportunities of experiences of awakenings along this healing path. But the most important key for my success, to continue to have the courage to walk through, to step through, to hike through, to make choices that are very uncomfortable, to make decisions that 98% of the people in my world say, oh, don't do that.
Yes.
Like, no, that I would never do that. How can you even consider that? Yeah. Well, almost every time they said no, or they suggested no, I said yes, because I was trusting what was coming from within, not from my thinking. So the key in navigating through life with a new type of GPS system truly is if you acknowledge that you believe in a God of any kind or divine or a higher power, we have to learn how to how to trust that the divine is going to lead us down a road, as you described earlier. I like to refer to it as a very methodical path, way better than anything I can ever create on my own. But I sure spent a lifetime trying to do just that.
Yes.
And so the key is part of the surrender is to begin to practice. You know, sometimes they say a chant as I'm hiking. When I go to those thoughts that are not, let's say, coming from the healthiest space,
yes,
I go into a chant of faith over fear, faith over fear, faith over fear. And I just keep repeating it, and I get louder, out loud as I say it, until I not only hear it, but I hear it vibrationally through my chakras, through my body, through my soul. And then it usually helps take me out of those thoughts of the unknown, because the unknown is scary because we don't know. But, you know, the beautiful thing is whatever decision we make and whatever that experience is, there comes another moment of growth, another moment of learning more about who we are at our core, how strong we are, and or the lesson that we need to learn so we don't repeat it.
Yes.
But if we just sit in thought and thinking about it and not taking action and worried, in anxiety or fear, whatever it might be, including financial, we're just going to stay right where we're at, and we're just going to be consumed by it. And then we're going to have to figure out ways to distract our thinking. And a lot of times it's with unhealthy choices, that was the loop that I was in for 54 years.
Wow. So. You don't look old enough, by the way, Jay. I love that. Yes. You talk about, you throw out these years and these ages. I'm like trying to do the math. So I love it. Thank you so much. Hopefully I'm not blurry. I blur out sometimes. I want to respect your time. I am going to wrap up, and then I'm going to ask you if you have anything to add to this beautiful conversation. So thank you. Guys, if you have any questions whatsoever, do leave them. We will come to them. Thank you for being here and watching and getting this far. Even being here in this collective, in this energy, that's part of change. That's part of making a decision, because lots of people will have started this, watched a little bit, and then clicked off and gone about their day and not heard all of the power, all of the soul power, its guidance. It's not about me. It's not about EC. It's not about Jay. It's about you receiving what it is that you need today. And so having conversations is just so powerful. I say change your tribe and change your vibe, not change your vibe sitting there trying to go, I need to vibrate at a higher level. Just change the people that you're around that give you that support and that guidance. So we welcome you into the collective. I love it. Join me in the after show, continue on the conversation. You know, if you don't want to miss a show, then subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Soul Legacy TV. Come into the collective. And if when you come into the collective, please introduce yourself. Let us know that actually that was me too. And once you make that decision to come out from behind closed doors, the magic unfolds, because it no longer holds you. It no longer holds you in the dark. There's times when my journey has been a really lonely journey. And so something was guiding me to say, Iona, reach out, you can't do it alone. So I encourage you to do that. So I feel very blessed to support soul-guided entrepreneurs to manifest and maintain more soul client income, soul family influence, because that's where it's at for me, and soul tribe impact. It's more than just focusing on one area of your life and then leaving the other areas. We've talked about balance and we've talked about faith. And I had the experience where when I left what was my soul-sucking day job, I know you guys did, I had that divine time. My guardian angel of faith came in at 13:33 to say, okay, you've made a decision. Now you flow with that decision. So if you want to start a movement with your message, I'd love to support you and bank 50K in 50 days. That is the journey that I'm on. And whilst we tune in and track your Cheers to Financial Freedom frequency. So my gift is the Soul Legacy School for Soul Path Alignment. I'd love to have you join me. And I will go live actually at the end of the season. So you can launch, lead, and leave your soul legacy with ease, grace, and flow. So we do pay tribute in the Soul Legacy Academy for all the loved ones, your friends, your family, your clients, the people that you're here to serve. When you grow, you reach back. And all of the people, for some of you who don't know, I dedicate the Soul Legacy Academy to my son. And Isis, we didn't say about Darnell coming through with the light, so we'll touch on that before we wrap up. And just the people that have made their transition, the people that are guiding us, and the people that will come into our lives, be born and birthed, and we're here to be that role model and to be that guide. I'm, for one, I'm a grandmother, so what I do is I own my journey, and I'm living and leaving my legacy. So we only get one life. It's short. Live it, make it count, make the bold decisions that my guests have made. I told you they were legendary, right? So I'm inviting you to move up the emotional scale. I was in fear, and we heard about fear. I was in fear of failure, success, and selling, and that's not the best place to build your business, trust me. So lots of chaos unfolded. I was in grief, deep grief, right? And so they're the lowest vibrations, but you can move up the emotional scale, although it might not be straight to love and freedom and appreciation and joy. We can practice that for the things that you have in your life now. There's many things in your life that will bring you joy. Just smiling at someone brings you joy and brings that person a joy. Some of these things are free. It's not all about the money, right? So if you haven't subscribed already to the Soul Legacy TV podcast and radio show, I encourage you to do so. I'd love to have you join me. We binge watch on a Wednesday at 9 a.m. UK time, 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. And all the links to everything that we've talked about are going to be in the show notes or in the description around this episode. I do encourage you to take advantage of that. You know, when people have been down a journey and they're taking their breakdowns and sharing them with you and saying, I'm wrapping them up in a gift with love, I, for one, am taking them. So every single thing that everybody has shared, I've gone through personally. This is part of my journey to help and heal me first. I'm not too proud to say thank you very much. I will take that. So I encourage you to do the same. So what I do say is, remember to turn your wounds into wisdom. Don't be a wounded light worker. I dare you to be legend. So hashtag legendary light leaders. I'm sending you so much love and light. So guys, do you have anything else to ask? I had, because I could hear a pin drop. Isis, do you want to go first?
Well, I just want to say thank you for inviting me to be a part of this project from the very beginning. Yes. It has been an honor to be a part of the change and evolving that has gone on with this project, and that I know will continue. This is a legacy, and it's a way for all of us to start leaving our legacy. I hope you enjoy learning about the Money Reiki Reset, enjoy experiencing it. I hope that you realize that you are meant to be healthy and wealthy, because you're not healthy if you're struggling for money all the time. So that's the legacy that I want to leave with this chat, is that you don't have to struggle. It is not meant for you, and it can be easier than it has been.
Thank you. I want to quickly, Jay, I'll come to you in just a second and I'll share with you, because you probably don't know this story. So when you say surrender or following those breadcrumbs and that guidance and just that sense of knowing, I knew that I wanted to have that energy where we transition from putting people on a list and, you know, having people behind closed doors, like just getting snippets of what the real, reading bios and not knowing who's behind that bio and not knowing who's behind that gift, right? Putting on false faces behind closed doors. I wanted to build a legacy. And so in this journey, Isis and I had connected and many times and talked and wanted to build this. But on our first conversation, you waited right until the end. I told her about Darnell, I told her about my son and what happened. And she said, he says, will you tell my mum that I did the light? And so like not long before that, there was a light that was flickering on in the kitchen. I was talking to my partner, Barry, and I said, the light, like, did you see that? And he was on a video call. So I'd gone into the kitchen for a random reason. I didn't have anything to do in there. And I said, that'll be Donna. And I said, I know it's him because he'll just, so the light was flickering and then it went out. And I said, he just put it back on. And it just shone so brightly. We were like, whoa. So when I got on the call with Isis, it was a while later. He said, Mum, tell my mum I've done the light. And one of the things that stayed with me in the conversation that we had, Isis, is I don't think you realize the impact of when he said, my mum, I'm whispering ahead of her and saying, my mum's over there. My mum's over there. My mum's over there. And I've carried, I'm going to get emotional. I've carried that with me, and the courage to just surrender in the moments when it doesn't look perfect on the outside, just trusting. That's my legacy. That's my son's legacy. And that's the energy in which I come to you with. So Jay, do you have anything to add to the conversation?
Wow, that's just absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
You know, I think, well, first I want to thank you for reaching out to me a number of months back. And
yes, in the beginning.
And then trusting that when it was the right time, that you'd show back up. And you did. You just popped back into my life just a couple of weeks ago. Surprising, unexpected, because I live today a life of few expectations, just open to receive. And there you were. And so it was beautiful. And then we had an opportunity to have an intimate conversation offline. And that was a really nice experience, to getting to know you and you sharing some of your thoughts and ideas and inspiration with me. That was very helpful. And so I appreciate that. I would like to say that as the first male guest, why this is so important that we invite men to the conversation, and why I created my first show still is Real Men, Real Talk, Raw. And it's to invite men that are ready to come in to the studio and share their backstory, whatever their backstory is, with where they're at in their own journey of living life today. And hopefully to be able to create a space for other men that are struggling or just surviving or in trouble in any aspect of life, that to give them some hope and inspiration that we can change. We don't have to continue to live and behave the way we were taught was the right way. We could get to create our own path, our own way of living. And so for me, it's about inspiring other men to learn how to put down the facade, how to be able to show up at home and even at the office and just become real. Just start to feel safe enough to express who you are, your truths, share your vulnerability. Real men do cry. And with that, I would like to extend an invitation to both of you beautiful ladies to be a guest on one of my shows, Real People, Real Stories, in a very near future, to come into the studio and share what is on your mind as far as, well, we'll talk about that. But I'd love to have both of you as a guest individually on my show, and return the favor and going from being a guest to being a host.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amazing. And that part of this collective, my guests do connect and we continue on the conversation, and there's beautiful things that happen. And Jay, I love that you do say that about men. Years ago, part of the journey, before I came offline, I was in a book called Empowered Women of Social Media. I actually bought the domain name Empowered Men of Social Media, because I didn't do anything with it, because that's when I came offline. That's when my son made his transition. But I am all for that. And I say now Barry's with me on this journey, because he wasn't back then, is, you know, babe, can you reach out to the men? Reach out to the men. And did I say to you, was it the day? I'd set the intention either that morning or the morning before, like, where are the men at? And then you popped and I was like, oh my God, I've got to reach it. So that is how that happened. because we'd always intended to reach back out. But I said, okay, there's men. I think I remember saying that to you, definitely. So guys, I love you. Thank you so much for being here in this space. Please do whatever you do, share this out. Share the energy, share the love, share the freedom, share the magic, share the happiness, share the healing. Let's have some fun. Come back to another episode. Check Jay out, check Easy's out, check out the interviews that we'll be doing. Hello. So, guys, I love you. I shall speak to you soon. Thank you. This is Iona Meade. I am out. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.